4. This is our last lesson. In the Unit 3. Linear equations, and going to deal with the solving of equations. So these are some of the word problems. So here are some of the steps that needs to happen. First of all, read the problem. Okay, read it in its details. Sometimes rereading the problem helps. Highlighting key phrases. The ones that have numbers are things you're going to have to do with. Another thing is try to do a drawing of what's going on. When it comes to defining the variables, if you will look at the question, like how many nickels and dimes, that tells you what the variable really needs to be about, the number of nickels and dimes, for example. Define the variable, and then you construct and solve an equation. And then you go back before you're done and make sure that your answer answers everything that was asked. Let me get rid of these notifications, and there we go. So let's look at this. Twice a number plus 3 is the same as the number minus 6. What is the unknown number? Okay. So twice a number plus 3, that's 2x plus 3, is the same as the number minus 6, equals that number minus 6. Okay. So I was able to construct an equation here. Now I just need to solve for x. Okay. So if I subtract x from both sides, this gives me x plus 3 equals negative 6. Subtract 3 from both sides, and I get x equals negative 9. Okay. So it says twice that number plus 3. So twice that number plus 3 is what? Negative 18 plus 3 is negative 15. Does that equal the same number minus 6? And yes, it does. So I've got it correct. The sum of 3 consecutive integers is 369. Now, I have to have variables and I have to have an equation. I could just sort of guess the number, but that's called not credit. Okay. I need an equation. I need to define variables. Okay. 3 consecutive integers. So I don't know what the numbers are. It says, what are those integers? So x is going to be the first number. Since these numbers are consecutive, I know that x plus 1 is the second number. And since these numbers are consecutive, I know that x plus 2 is the third number. So these are the 3 numbers I'm talking about, x plus 1, and x plus 2. Well, it says you add them together, and you get 369. So x plus 1 plus x plus 2 equals 369. If I gather like terms, 3x plus 3 equals 369. Subtract 3 from both sides. So 3x equals 366. And the final step would be to divide by 3. So 3 goes into 366. 3 goes into there, what, 12 times? 122. So the first number is 122. Second number is 123. And the third number is 124. And if you add those together, you should get 369. Once upon a time, there were 3 consecutive integers. The first number plus twice the second number minus the third number is 142. So again, every time you see this consecutive integer problem, the first number is x. X plus 1 is my second number. And x plus 2 is my third number. Now what happens to them? It says the first number, that's x, plus twice the second number, minus the third number. And there's a little bit of a mistake here. That second number was x plus 1. Minus the third number is 142. So again, I had to have minus x plus 2. It needed to be in parentheses because I'm subtracting that entire number, not just the x part. So this is going to be what? X plus 2x plus 2 minus x minus 2 equals 142. If I combine like terms, 2x plus x is 3x minus x, that's 2x. 2 minus 2, so equals 142. Divide that by 2 and you get 71. So these numbers are 71, 72, and 73. And I can double check it. The first number plus twice the second number minus the third number. So this gives me what? 5. And then minus 73, that's a 2. 142, that's correct. The distance by road from Chicago to Los Angeles is 1,900 miles, more than the distance from Chicago to Boston. If the total of these two is 3,017 miles, find the distance from Chicago to Boston. Now this is sort of good to draw. So I got Chicago, LA, and Boston. So I've got Los Angeles, and I've got Chicago, and then I have Boston. So I got these three cities. The distance from Chicago to LA is 1,901 miles more than Chicago to Boston. So if I can let this Chicago to Boston be x, then x plus 1901 is the distance from Chicago to LA. Okay? So x is the distance. So x is the distance from Chicago to Boston, and then x plus 1901 is LA to Chicago. So what's going to happen is I know that the total of these two distances, so the distance from LA to Chicago plus the distance from Chicago to Boston, they tell me that equals 3017. So I can just use my variables here, that x plus x plus 1901 equals 3017. So 2x plus 1901 equals 3017. I subtract 1901 from both sides. Two x equals, what is this, 6, 1, 1, 1. Is that right? Let me double check. 1901, 1116. So that's 7, 1, your big one, 3017, that's it. So then divide both sides by 2. X equals, so 2 goes into 1116 5 times, 5 times, 558. So x is 558. So what did I solve for? I solved for x, which was the distance from Chicago to Boston, and they said find the distance from Chicago to Boston. So final answer is 558 miles. Now, if they had asked me the distance from Chicago to LA, I could just add 1901 to it. Okay. A salesperson at an electronics store sold a computer system and software for $2,100. receiving 4 times as much as for the computer system as for the software. Find the price of each. Okay, so what's happening here is you're buying a computer plus software, and they tell me that equals $2,100. Okay. But they also tell me that 4 times as much as the computer for the software. So if this was X, this would be 4X. So if X is the cost of the software, then I know that 4X is the cost of the computer. And those have to all add up to 2,100. So 4X plus X equals 2,100. 5X equals 2,100. So X is 2,100 divided by 5. And so it looks like X is what? 5 goes in there 4 times. 2. Is that right? Wait. 5 goes into 2,100. 5 goes into 21 4 times. 5 goes into 10 2 times. And is it 0? So 420. And just double check that. 5 times 420. Okay, 2,100. Yep. Okay. So then, what did they say? Find the price of each. So 420 would be the price of the computer. And then, excuse me, that was the software. The price of the software. And then 4 times that. So that's going to be what? 8 fourths of 1680 is the price of the computer. And those should add to 2,100. So again, it's just slowing down, reading the problem, and then from there, being able to do the variables. Okay. So look at this one. The average life expectancy for a elephant is 24 more than the chimp. Okay. If the total of these is 130, find the life of each. So the life of the chimp plus the life of the elephant has to equal 130. So if I think about it, they tell me that the elephant is 24 more than the chimp. So this is 24 more than the chimp. At this point, I don't know what either of those is, but I can tell that if I were to let X equal the life expectancy of the chimp, then X plus 24, that's the life expectancy of the elephant. But I know when I add these things together, X plus 24 equals 130. 2X plus 24 equals 130. Subtract 24 from both sides. That gives me what? 2X equals 106 divided by 2. X equals 53. So X was the life expectancy of the chimp. What did they ask me in the question? Find the life expectancy of each. So I'm going to have 53 years the chimp. And then x plus 24, add 24 to that, and you get 77 years for the elephant. And those add to 130, so I know it's the right answer. I bought a new comic book and paid entirely in quarters. If I had paid in dimes, I would have needed 9 more coins. How much did the comic book cost? So this one, if you pay in dimes, so basically what's happening here, the price in dimes has to equal the price in quarters. They don't change the price based on the money you use. But if I look at it, I paid in quarters, I would need 9 more if I used dimes. So let x equal the number of quarters. And you know that you have 9 more dimes, x plus 9 equal the number of dimes. So when I buy the comic book, the number of quarters and the number of dimes, they don't match. I need more dimes than quarters to make it work. But I know the price has to be the same. So if I'm using x quarters, that's going to cost me 25x. If I'm using x plus 9 dimes, that's going to be 10, x plus 9. These have to equal. Okay? So I look at this. This is what? 10x plus 90 equals 25x. Subtract 10x from both sides. So 90 equals 15x. I'm going to divide both sides by 15. And that would be 90, that's going to be 6 equals x. How much did the comic book cost? Well, x equals 6 tells me that I had 6 quarters, okay? So 6 quarters is $1.50. A garage has 17 cars and motorcycles. Altogether, there are 56 wheels. How many of each vehicle type are in the garage? Okay, so 56 wheels. So basically, the car wheels plus the motorcycle wheels equals 56. Now, you know a car, every car should have 4 wheels. Every motorcycle should have 2 wheels. So they say there's 17 cars and motorcycles, okay? So I don't know how many of each there are, but if there were 10 cars, there'd be 7 motorcycles. We'd have to add 17. So what I can do is let's let x equal the number of cars. Then whatever number that is, 17 minus x is going to be the number of motorcycles. Because when you add those two things together, you get 17. So if I look at it, 4 times x plus 2 times 17 minus x equals 56. So 4x plus 34 minus 2x equals 56. Combine like terms, 2x plus 34 equals 56. Subtract 34 from both sides. So 2x equals 22. So I get x equals 11. How many of each vehicle type are in the garage? This tells me there are 11 cars And since there are 17, there are 6 motorcycles. Now, I know this is right because this means there are 44 wheels here, 12 wheels here. That gives me a total of 56 wheels. Okay. Real quick, let's look at the consecutive number problem. Do I have one here? I do not have one. Let me just remind you that if another problem comes up, if you had something like, remember how we did consecutive integers algebraically? X plus 1, x plus 2, etc. What if I had consecutive even numbers? So if the first number is x, like if it's 2, how do I get the next even number? The next even number is x plus 2. The next one is x plus 4. So if you ever have a problem that talks about consecutive even numbers, they go up by 2. Same thing with odd numbers. Consecutive odd numbers, if the first one was x, like 1, you would add 2 to get the next one, and so forth. So consecutive numbers are x plus 1, x plus 2. Consecutive even or odd, it's skipped by 2 every time. Okay? And that should lead you up into the homework for this section.